I'm Andrea. I am a mentor here with Bright Eye, and I'll be kind of leading the session. We would love to make this as responsive to you as we can. So as I kind of mentioned at the beginning, please do type in your questions either to the Q&A or into the chat. So maybe just take 30 seconds right now and think about what does success look like from this session for you? What do you want to walk away from here knowing? Or learning or hearing, we are here to make this practical, right? This is not going to be one of those big theoretical, where will AI be in 10 years? Our goal is that you walk out of here with something, be it a perspective, be it a tip, a trick, a solution to something that's been bothering you, that you can eat, that immediately impacts your work and how you approach what you do and what your company does. We'll do intros kind of while you think about that. Andrea Spillmann-Gajek, I recently moved to Zurich after 16 years in Silicon Valley, where I was building and scaling growth stage startups from the ground, from how do we write a business plan up through about 30 million ARR. And I've worn all the hats outside of coding, but gone deepest in customer success and go-to-market, and have really enjoyed in the past year and a half engaging with Bright Eye and their portfolio of companies. Jeremy, I'll hand it over to you for a quick intro.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, Jeremy Ambrose. I am a recovering founder. I founded a large accelerator in the UK and then sold it in 2018 and went again. I'm now co-director, but non-operating. I now work in the startups team at Zendesk. Literally a week ago, I moved into more of an operations role, but formerly senior partnership manager for the EMEA APAC regions, working with VCs, accelerators, and tech companies about how we support them with their CX and CS.
Ben, I'll let you do a quick intro.
Thank you very much, Andrea. Thanks, Jeremy. Benjamin Hempel, short Ben, Senior Director for Customer Success and Solution Consulting at Scandit. So not a startup anymore, but more of a scale-up, taking care of the EMEA and the APAC region, both pre-sales, post-sales. For all of you who are not that familiar with the Swiss startup world, so we are in the less visible part of the EI ecosystem. So we do computer vision mostly, so teaching devices with a camera like a smartphone, robots, drones to perceive the world. A lot of it is like about grocery product recognition, barcode scanning, ID scanning. So yeah, quite excited to be here today.
Thank you, Ben. Last plug to enter, even just one thing you want to get out of this session. I'm pretty sure only Ben, Jeremy, and Hege and I can see it. So no need to be shy. Great. So without further ado, I will share a little bit. I think as we think about AI in customer success, there's a lot of hype, right? And there's a lot of I think a lot of maybe feelings of overwhelm. So I think it's really helpful first just to think about what your goals are. And this will help guide our conversation a bit too. There's a lot that AI can do, and this is just kind of three big categories. There's lots of ways to think about this, but to anchor us, why use AI? What are the areas where it can help? One is making things better. Operations stay in, more or less as they are, but you're able to do more to improve the client experience, to improve engagement, to enhance how you're working with your customers, what their experience is with your product and with your team. Another is to keep doing the same, but to do it more efficiently, or to help the team do it better, right? So to kind of take the team that you have, make them more efficient, improve their performance, help you do. It's still kind of doing more with the same team, but it's focused more on their efficiency and how they work. And another area that we were kind of discussing and that came out of our prep call is this idea of scaling individuals, right? And I think it maybe overlaps with some of these topics. but it's really taking the team, particularly the strong performers that you have, when you say, I wish I could just take this person and clone them or help them do more or make them even more effective, right? Um, Ben, Jeremy, we talked about this a little bit. Am I representing this well before we dive in? Any color you want to add as we think about the areas and the categories?
No, I think yeah, absolutely. Please carry on. This is great. This is exactly what we were talking about, and I think as we move forward, we'll go into each of these points probably a little bit deeper. So yeah, perfect.
Perfect. So I won't waste too much time here. What I how we will structure this time then is Ben and Jeremy are each going to talk a little bit about their perspective about either how they're using AI, how they're seeing AI be used, some of the immediate opportunities, some really practical steps of where to talk for maybe about 5 minutes each. We'll have a bit of a discussion on themes that come up, and then we'll open it up for questions as well. So Ben, I think you are first up.
Sure. So I put like 4 little projects because I was also asked to share a little bit what we're doing practically, as a company in applying AI across the board. Some of it being like general usage in the company, some of it specifically for customer success. So let me give you a bit of a flavor here. So the first one, in a way of big data, machine learning, AI tools, however you call it. We are lucky enough that we have a lot of usage data, which is really, really helpful, and also in a platform where you can easily analyze it. What we found out running these projects to better understand our customers, to forecast churn, to forecast growth and act on it proactively, is that the way our products are used is quite varied. So for churn prediction, it was a bit challenging, but we could, especially on smaller commercial deals, we could very reliably forecast growth and therefore trigger the conversation more proactively versus waiting just before renewal hits or before a problem arises. So this is, I think, one of the key learnings and projects that we did in the last time. Then, of course, generative AI, LLMs, as Scandit, Google venture company before. So we did stick with Gemini, which we rolled on the pro version, trained on whatever knowledge we have internally. Really nice to make day-to-day work for a CSM easier, finding the right information, doing research as well, right? You have the different tool sets that also can do research about the companies you're dealing with on a general basis. Set up a little agent that sets you an alert like, hey, this changed at your company. Maybe you want to do something or one of the companies you cover. Can help you for copywriting. I mean, the general thing everyone I think now does with Gen AI to keep it run over whatever emails or outreach you want to do. So really making the day-to-day work easier and also using it to stay on top of whatever is happening within your accounts and getting warned about that. Now it's really for us, we're investigating 2 main things in the way we want to use AI features. And one is our existing tool set. So you might already have tools like Zendesk. Jeremy, very cool to see you. Salesloft, Zoom, all of them have different AI features or AI-powered features. We do a lot of investigation to compare them against one another. So depending on where it sits, if it's in Zoom or Salesloft or Zendesk, there's pros and cons based on cost, based on efficiency. So exploring, talking to then the CSMs of your vendors or toolset providers, what do they offer, and comparing that to one another can take some time, but can also really pay off. And currently, we're looking into a CSP or CMP, so customer success or customer management platform. And for us, they are integrations to different AI services, and the roadmap of things they offer is a very important decision factor. And I think something for us that will very much decide on how we make a decision here and how we want to bring it very much hands-on to our CSMs, that it's not at the moment, it's different tools, different pages. We're looking to get a CMP to bring it all together, that you have one part where you can access all of these different AI features. And a few learnings from our investigations, right? This is like ongoing since like 18 months. Figure out what you want to solve first. So as Andrea said, what is what you want to do? Do you have some top performers and you want to share their best practices they're learning across the organization? Is it about making the day-to-day easier by finding information either internal or externally? Is it about increasing the reach? So Can you do with the same resources cover more accounts? Can you offer, tech touch, self-help, or digital CSM services? I would really recommend to put a focus, like some blinders on what you want to do exactly before you start the investigation. Otherwise, you can easily get lost. Check your data quality. For us, in hindsight, we did some basic hypothesis checks. So if you have someone who knows a bit of stats or stochastics, let them take your data and do a simple, no big AI model needed. Literally take Excel and do a quick hypothesis test, statistical hypothesis test before you spend a few months to build up or set up a tool that then, might just tell you the same of, oh yeah, actually there's no correlation with your data and this thing. And last but not least, what's your existing tech stack? Can you make work easily? Is there maybe a plugin that makes your life a lot easier so you don't have to maintain it yourself, or do you build something in-house? Check what's your capabilities and what's the tool set. And talk to the CSMs of your tech providers to tell you what's the cool new feature they might have available. Okay, very quick summary of what we're doing and how it relates to customer success. I think I'm handing over to Jeremy to share the wider view of being one of those vendors of cool new tools that you can use in your company.
And thank you, Ben. I think what's really interesting too about what you pulled out, or what you mentioned as well, is this kind of starting piece by piece, right? And that's what you bring up in the key learnings as well. I work with a lot of different CS teams across a lot of different companies, and I see this imposter syndrome that everyone has, right? Everyone assumes that there is this like solution, right? That there's this holy grail of AI and they just haven't figured it out yet, and that everyone else has. But I think what you mentioned, and Jeremy, I think you'll probably touch on this more as well, it really is about starting bit by bit, right? Solving a problem at a time, testing things out, figuring where you can get the highest impact for your team, and then building from there. And these are really helpful tips for that. All right, Jeremy, on to you.
Thank you. So very quickly, just to explain what Zendesk is, some of you might not know it. It's a customer experience software. We would like to say that we're best in class, and we're global. We have around 6,000 employees, and we're kind of the silent partner to over 160,000 companies around the world. For those of you in the UK, Next being one of our best partners, one of our core partners. I think from our perspective, what we like to do, we have. Sorry, let me just come back because there's a differentiation I want to make, because what you'll hear us talk about is customer success. But you'll also hear me talk about customer experience. Now, the customer experience for me is that end-to-end journey of a customer from when they first actually interact with you all the way through to when they exit and leave. Now, when we talk about customer success, I believe, and Andrea, Ben, please come in if you think differently. Customer success is once they've actually onboarded and they're part of your company or they're a customer, it's about getting the most out of their experience during the time that they're with you. So it's customer success. So I'm going to talk about customer experience and customer success, but and that's the differentiation. Now, we survey all of our customers every year to figure out what's top of mind for people, what are they thinking about, how are they solving their needs, how are they solving their customers' needs and wants, and what are their customers saying. We also built an LLM off the back of approximately 18 million customer tickets, which gives us a plug-in model built for customer experience that is which shortens that time to value. I think, as we just said there, there's a long runway to get value out of AI. I think there's a myth that you can just kind of plug it in and off you go. There is some nuances to it. You have to tweak and play with it. You have to get it to a point where it's adding value to your customers. So yeah, but when we survey all of our customers and we do a CX trends report, we look into what's current and what's useful. And this is a few points that came out of our AI interactions. So what are customers thinking about AI, and therefore how can you think about AI and plugging it into your CX or CS org? So AI will redefine the way we deliver instant personalization. When I talk about personalization, I mean kind of making somebody feel welcome, making somebody feel like they've been there before, they know a bit about you, and you being able to play that back to them. Um, for instance, Delta Airlines, um, they will reach out to people who have bought an upgrade before at a crucial point because they know at what point before their flight, this is all the data that they use, what point before their flight they actually interacted and upgraded. So you can put that into your customer success or your customer experience and go, hey, Andrea, I see you upgraded on our flight. We've got a great offer for you. So playing that personalization, what you've done before, is really important. Filling the existing content gaps. Our service can also look at what you don't have in your Q&A. So if somebody asks a question through your chatbot or through your website that we don't have an answer to, it will go and scrape the net. It'll give that answer to a person, a human in the loop, which we'll probably come on to, and then it allows you to go, yeah, that's the right answer. And then it'll upload and complete your knowledge base with the answer to that question. So AI is filling in the gaps to make sure that experience is seamless. Um, there's also this big question of empathy. How empathetic can AI be, right? Uh, but with the personalization, with the knowledge that you feed it, and with what's the word? I'll come back to it. But essentially, you can change the sentiment of responses to demonstrate more empathy or to reduce the empathy if somebody's just looking for a quick business decision or whatever that might be. So it's being sensitive to that. Chatbot and voice communication, it's supercharging this, allowing you to get back to what you do best and building a company. It takes out the frequently asked questions, the mundane responses, and the interaction time that you have by doing that for you and allowing you to get back to what you truly need to be doing, which is, as I say, building that business. And then obviously generative AI is improving the depth and quality of responses dramatically. So instead of just a human being able to point to a resource that they might have, this goes further in depth. It looks at key messages within a document or a frequently asked question response, and it can go down to that sentence, point to that exact thing, and then give that more in-depth answer um, in a quicker time than a human can to look it up. So yeah, a few different things about what consumers want from AI and services. A couple of facts on the next slide, if you wouldn't mind, Andrea, that we took from our CX Trends report. But this is what your customers are expecting right now. 79% believe that AI has become a crucial part of modern customer service. They're expecting you to use it. 66%, all sizes of companies should be using AI customer experience, or it's expected that. So if you're not already using AI within your customer experience or customer success, then your customers are expecting you to. So let's get going with it now. There are a few more slides, but I want to kind of pause there because I think what we will do is go into more depth about, well, where do I start with this? What should I be measuring? How do I actually build out a function of CS and CX with AI? And I've got a few kind of tips on that, but let's just pause there. I think, yeah, if we've got any questions or anything, or I'm happy to just go into how we actually build that. No problem.
Take a quick pause for questions. Feel free to raise your hand as well, and we can call on you. Otherwise, the next step is where to get started. I think Jeremy, let's dive quick into where to get started, and
Super.
then
All
I think
right.
that's probably where the first questions will be anyway.
I should imagine so. So if you skip two, skip this one because I've talked on this a little bit. Um, Okay, so and actually, Ben, you touched on this stuff, right? And let's go a little bit deeper because a lot of questions that I get, certainly from startups and scale-ups, is okay, well, I where do I start with this? How do I get going? For me, I know it says at the top of the thing, define your North Star. Yes, absolutely. But we need to get in the mindset of putting your customer at the heart of your business. If you put the customer at your heart of the business, it will form every other business decision that you make. Whether that's been in the product roadmap, whether that's your next spend on tech, whether that is your it informs a whole load of different regions. But where do we start? Well, we'll define a North Star. Where do you want to get to with your customer experience and customer success? What does it look like? Is it revenue generating? How much revenue? What's the feeling? What's the success metric that you want to put in place? Define what great looks like, your North Star, and then we can start building towards it. Knowing your customer is really going to start with that, helping you start with that. So do some customer interviews, motivations, priorities, what are their pain points? It's all that basic stuff that we do when we kind of do customer discovery. We need to do that over and over again, iterative, use the data to then inform this strategy. Map the customer journey. Every touch point that you have, every touch point that you want to have with a customer, map it out and see where buying decisions are being made, where they might be buying from another customer, another organization. So if you don't have customers yet, look at another customer journey on your competitor. That's going to inform where you want to go. Understand the expectations. Extensive user researches, feedback sessions, truly understand what your customers value in your product and service and their expectations around that customer journey as well. So knowing the customer as a person, but then also understanding the journey that they want to take is important. Um, and then the vision. I love using Ari Weinsweg's visioning model. I don't know if anyone's come across it, but look up Zing Train. It's a training company out of, I think, Chicago, but he's great. It's about putting yourself into the future, what's happening around you, use all your senses, understand like what people are saying about you, what's in the environment. Are you on a stage? Somebody's talking about their customer experience with you. Anyway, define a clear vision. Where do you want to get to? Um, and then develop the plan. Now, it's easy for me to say develop a plan, right? And what I don't do is go, hey, here's a template. It's up to you. It's very important that you make it personal to your customer and your company. So really understanding that what the customer wants, mapping the journey, the expectations of that journey, utilizing the data from the feedback, but also that North Star, and then break it down, understand what you have to do within your business, what processes, what systems that we need to kind of put in that plan to then move forward with. And then customer success, customer experience is a team sport. So don't let it sit just within one team. Everybody needs to be across what a customer is saying, what they're thinking, what they're knowing, because then they can make informed decisions. And also that diversity of thought across your team will also help you bring out amazing gems that maybe the customer success team don't come out with. So yeah, it's a team sport. Put a date in the diary every week, because if you miss it one week, you'll get it the next week. So it's every 2 weeks. So put it in every week where you literally put the customer on the table and go, hey, let's talk about them. Use that insight to then play back into your roadmap. And then what should I be measuring is the next slide. So yeah, Andrea, if you wouldn't mind, here's a few things that we think you should be measuring. And then again, utilizing these scores, understanding where your customer journey might fall down, where you're really good, how can you double down on things? This will give you a good idea of where things need to improve, where things are going right, but also how to satisfy the customer needs more and more. Net Promoter Score, you can read these as we go, but Net Promoter Score, you know, customer loyalty, customer satisfaction, how satisfied are they with your product or service? Um, those two there, so Net Promoter Score and customer satisfaction, they can fit into the marketing side of your organization. You know, this can certainly, if you've got people out there, customers, existing customers talking well about you, talking positively about you, that can take care of a bit of your marketing spend. It's free advertising. It's free marketing if you can get that part of your customer journey right. Customer effort score, how hard is it to actually get an answer from you and get back to value? Um, Customer churn rates, understanding when they churn, why they churn, and creating a rate around that also gives you an idea of why people drop off. But also, has your customer changed? Maybe your ICP now isn't what your ICP is going to be in a year. And understanding that will then help you replay and go back, do the customer discovery, and then go again. And then we talk about resolution times. getting people back to value is hugely, hugely important. And measuring that allows you to know how long it takes for customers to get back to value utilizing your product. And in an on-demand world, I can assure you, it's a very short time that they have patience with you if they're trying to solve a problem. So that gives you an overview of kind of where to start, what to measure. But yeah, I'd love to have some questions, open up a conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think this is great, Jeremy. And what I love about having both you and Ben on here is Jeremy, you're very much focused. Another way to think about kind of customer experience and customer success and how they fit together. I think customer experience, especially as you show us here, is the focus on the end user, on the individuals, on how folks are interacting with the product, with support tickets. And Ben, I know a lot of what your team does as well is focus on the business and the business case, right? And the large B2B. And I think you probably are measuring some of the same things and some different things. So maybe especially I'd be curious, and this wasn't a point we discussed ahead of time, but it's something I've talked with each of you about before. Ben, what's your team looking at, and how are you thinking about AI impacting that if you are?
So there's a few points. I took a few notes here on the side to also. Can we have the slide again? Sorry, it was just thing
Oh,
will also help me
sorry.
on Jeremy, you
Of
touched on a
course.
few great points here. So on all of these, what you mentioned here, net promoter scores, like these all like internally collected metrics in how was their interaction with our team members, mostly on the support side, but also customer success. We're definitely using AI in the terms of scoring sentiment. So, I mean, I think sentiment analysis, having not even with a recording, but just having the metadata of what's the sentiment of a call, of a resolution, email, good or not, can help you. That's a great AI feature that is supported by many tools and that we're using to get the insights to how is the interaction with our teams being perceived. So that kind of customer interaction with our team members. What I would like to maybe comment on, so you mentioned like resolution time and similar to like business value. I think one thing where AI tools, especially like now, machine learning enhanced big data tools can really help you is to assess customer value. So we are in the business to, we deal with enterprises. We actually do not interact directly with the end users. We interact with IT and business users, but the end users are, steps away from us. And that might be for some of you in the room as well. If you have an enterprise or B2B product, that might be very similar for you. So where AI can help and the advanced features to analyze and to predict is to build a really good business value model and to then track metrics that you can measure against that. So for example, the basic things is like how often do they use your product? How many users do you have using the product in a certain way? So you can start modeling. You can make more complex models partially for each customer to then say, okay, do we see this as high, medium, low usage? Is there a risk for churn because they're not using us that much? Is there, hey, it's now a good time to talk about growth or upsell conversation? And if you now marry that with what you, for example, get in sentiment and how people react to you pitching different features and the conversation, that can give you a higher confidence level that, yes, now is a good time to talk about business value achieved, business value that might be worth a raise, might be worth a reduction in like a little churn or contraction, or expanding within the business. So having this kind of data-driven approach that goes beyond resolution, but more like value realization. And I think this is where AI tools can help a lot because they make modeling and calculations and you can have AI agents that can give you a heads up if something is working or not working as well as it should be. And that gets backed up by I would say easier to measure data like survey results, customer net promoter scores. We also focus now a lot G2 reviews. As you mentioned that, Jeremy, on like free marketing, really great marketing is G2 reviews. So that's also something we're monitoring now and where, again, AI tools can really help to get up-to-date information that's available online very quickly without having someone to, type stuff in or get like an RSS feed or something else gone. So there's a lot of agentic AI you can use for that to get updates on, hey, there's a new review, positive, negative, Right now, we don't get so many numbers of them. I'm not sure how it is for Zendesk, or depending on what kind of software you are planning to sell or you are selling for the people in the audience. Um, if you have a widely used tool, you might get hundreds, thousands of reviews on Google Play Store, or on the Apple App Store, G2 reviews or whatever. Summarizing that for you, keeping on top for on that. That's, I think, where AI agents can help you quite a lot. That would be my comment here. Not sure if that
Yeah.
answered your question, Andrea.
Yeah, I think so. Well, you're summarizing, I think some of the really key, I was hoping you would touch on the value, right? So I think one thing that isn't on this slide because you're not measuring it always at the end user level, but I know most customer success teams are now focusing on is value, right? Customer value, being able to measure customer value, define customer value, report back customer
Yep.
value. I was on a webinar last week speaking with a few CS leaders who are talking about the customer success manager as the GM of their customer, right? Understanding their key drivers of the business and how AI can play into that, both by scanning the data that's out there, as you mentioned, by pulling data from multiple places to make that value case back to the customer, by tracking their use. And again, I think, a couple key use cases, Ben, you mentioned customer health scores, right? So more real time focus of how is the customer doing, triggers. Hey, this might be a good time to discuss upsell or to go intervene because it's not going well. And then of course, having better value to bring back a more data informed perspective, right?
And I 100% agree. And I think this is the exciting part about using machine learning and generative AI LLMs, is that it allows you to do some things you before, just because of the way how intensive or manual some of these processes will be, to be more proactive, to have more leading indicators versus only measuring the lagging indicators, like gross revenue retention or net revenue retention. That's after the fact. That's when it already happened, the good or the bad thing. What really AI agents or these kind of automation and additional tools allow you is to be more proactive about it, to spot things better, and to first of all actually find out what are our patterns. What is a pattern, or how can we define based on existing data? Then you also go to customer segments or customer life cycle. I think, Jeremy, for your team will all be a big thing. Like, who are the new customers that you onboard, that roll out the tool, that actually have high adoption, than the ones that might be declining? Are they stabilizing? Not having different views on these customers is a lot easier with the tooling that's available now in the market. And I think we had Jeremy and Will, you already had a great conversation. I'm not sure if you want
Yeah,
to share some of that for the overall.
yeah. I think there's an elephant in the room, right? Because there's this big myth about AI reducing headcount. Uh, and of course, I mean, if you're kind of starting out on the journey, then there's a good chance that yes, it will reduce the headcount within your CX team. It becomes a leaner team. But what I want to be able to do is actually focus on the plus points of this, because what the AI within CX and CS can do, it can streamline all of those kind of mundane tasks that everybody is doing, and get them focused on the things that deliver the most value to a customer. But there's also diversification in role as well. And I talk about CX and CS because actually, what we're finding is those that are responding back to a chat, with their customer service agent, also now have the ability to use markers, indicators, triggers to trigger a renewal, an upsell, or a cross sell. So they're actually revenue generating. So what we're actually doing is finding that teams are now being more efficient and driving more revenue through AI. So I just wanted to put that out there because, yeah, and Will's got a couple of challenges there. Pulling in high quality data out of Zendesk, yeah, absolutely, and properly, because there's probably a hell of a lot of it. And being able to put that into the right dashboard and understand it, and then putting that on the table and talking about it. Uh, and that is a huge issue, is being able to make sense of the data that you're pulling. If you don't have that early on in your strategy and understanding how you actually pull the right data and creating the right dashboards, and then utilizing that data to give you the right insight to then play it back into the product roadmap and every other business decision that you make, it can become quite unwieldy. So, I agree, yes. But also properly implementing AI to make use of better service, um, better serve the customers. So it's a difficult thing when to know when to implement AI. And Ben, you probably got some ideas, and you, Andrea, on this. But when to implement AI, I think certainly when your workload becomes 20% of one thing that can be solved with AI, I think that's a good chance to then start plugging it in. But I want to again caveat, you can't just plug something in and it gives you 100% value to your customer and you or your agents. You need to have a plan of implementation and understand how long it's going to take you to get to value with this product or service, but also who the right stakeholders that need to understand it. What learning do we need to go down, what training, teaching, and everything to get that involved. So um, start with a plan. Uh, Hit that 20% mark of something that you're doing on a regular basis, and then I would say implement it.
Yeah, one thing we talked about too, because Jeremy, you're mentioning the like you're not going to get to 100%, and I think some of that's implementation and starting and iterating. I think another piece is that we talked about is kind of human in the loop, right? That there's still we're not quite, especially in customer facing tasks. We're never quite going to get to 100%. We still want people in the loop. How are you each? Maybe Ben, how are you thinking about that at more of this kind of like account management level? Jeremy, how are you thinking about that? Is there categories of tasks that you're focused on? What frameworks are you using to think about that?
So maybe also, building on what you said before, Jeremy, in a way of if we see tasks, especially manual tasks in nature, getting data together manually from different systems, writing up stuff, looking through templates, all of this stuff nowadays you can automate. So first of all, looking for the, let's say, easy pickings, low-hanging fruit that people talk about in trying to automate that or preset that. And then have a check step in there. Like if you use some kind of automation, especially, but if it's with big customers, you want to have your CSM at least have a look about it, like what is being sent to that big important C-suite member, and have a check-in where it makes sense. And even if it's just a yes, send this off, or no, I want to change a few little things. So I think having a human in the loop is still essential. It's just about saving some of the time to gather the data, gather the initial inputs that you should automate if you can. That would be my first step on the processes in where usually CSM is. It's a lot of communication, a lot of interacting, sometimes advising customers, sometimes notifying them, sometimes reacting to it, getting the background information together, and maybe even getting you a template, writing something up that follows your internal best practices. That's the stuff you should automate, but then still have the human in the loop to double check it before it goes out, especially for your high importance customers.
And I think this, you kind of prompted a thought which probably should have been played out in the previous one is a previous question. Um, how do you implement AI? Well, you start with having a human in the loop at every single stage. You see what's working, and that human then reduces their workload as you
Yeah.
remove those checkpoints along your journey. So you know it's working, you know it's not sending hallucinations, you know that it's giving the right answers, you've checked them, and then once you've got a good amount of data and you've got a good amount of great interactions, then you can allow it to kind of take over. Yeah.
That's such a key piece on two levels, right? You touched on something that I don't think you fully said, but that I think really needs to be said too, which is the process has to work before you automate it,
Mhm.
right? What you're doing has to work before you can bring AI in and solve it. And I think this has been a problem for the past 20 or 30 years of automation, right? We're like a tool will solve it. I don't have the customer journey figured out yet, but I'm just going to bring in a tool and that'll solve it. And it never does, right? And I think we're now doing that with AI as well. So we need to make sure that something's working first. And then Jeremy, I really like that point too of and then while it's working, let's start having I almost think of it as like it's like when you train somebody new, right? It's like you kind of like what see one, do one, teach one. Like AI kind of rides along, like you're training it, then it's kind of doing it, but you're monitoring it, and then you're gradually figuring out where it falls flat, and you still need somebody and where it can run on its own.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah.
and in my mind, I just have this big flow chart, and at every point, where there's an intersection, there's a human, but
Hmm.
gradually you remove the humans, and then the flow happens on its own, and
Mm.
the AI can take care of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's just my visual brain doing
No,
that.
I love that. Yeah. Yeah, and then Ben, your point is the people are still having the important business conversations, but you can prep them better with AI. I know I'm working with one company right now that's preparing the QBR decks and pulling all the data for that so that the CSMs can focus on then having the conversations,
And learning, sorry,
or synthesizing that. Please go ahead.
sorry, and also learning from one another. I mean, one of the things that kind of
Mm,
became a no-brainer is we have super talented folks that are trained in business outreach and do this all the time. Um, they have cadences, so just looping in with the right tooling also our CSMs to do similar cadences, not exactly the same, but it should always be this your CSM that talks to you in your company. But it should also learn from, all the money you spend on marketing, on training people to do outreach, cold calling, whatever. Um, Bring that all together. And I think this is also something that this kind of automation, this AI tooling can help you, is that you also learn from different organizations and bring that all together and thereby share the best practices and learning. Goes to the point you
yeah.
had, Andrea, on get your best person for the job everywhere.
Yeah. This is fantastic. I'm looking at the time. I can't believe it's already been 45 minutes. I see Hege coming back to start playing our exit music, I think. But thank you. I will thank you, Benjamin and Jeremy, for being here, and Hege for the opportunity to have this discussion. And I'll let you do the official wrap up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I promise not to sing, but thank you so much, Jeremy, Ben, and Andrea.